Hello everybody, I am Dr. Joshila Grace, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology. We are going to see about super keywords in Java. We have already discussed about inheritance in Java, so this is again a continuation of the previous topic, which is inheritance. So super keyword is being used in our programs wherever we use inheritance. Wherever it is necessary to take up values from your base class, we will be using these super keyword. So we have three ways we can use our super keyword. The first way is to just refer the variable that is being present, which is there in your base class. The base class and the derived class has the same named variable. You can differentiate between them by using a super keyword denoting it as the base class variable. Similarly, we have a method which is of same name in your base class as well as in your derived class. In that case also, we would be able to identify the base class function with the super keyword in order to differentiate between the base class and the derived class function. Then the third one we can be using for along with constructors. The base class as well as the derived class is going to contain constructors. In this scenario, we would be able to call the base class constructor by using a super keyword. So these are the three ways we will be using the super keyword. The first way is to use it with a variable in order to take up the variable of the base class. The second way is to use it along with a function in order to take up the method which is there in our base class, and the third way is used for calling the constructor in our base class. So the next one is a simple example where we need to understand about super keyword being used along with a variable. So as I said before, we are going to have a variable which is of same name in our base class as well as in our derived class. So in this case, I should have a program which contains inheritance in it. So it contains inheritance in the sense I will have a base class, I will have a derived class. I say it as a derived class because I use an extends keyword and it extends the property of my base class. In the derived class, I am going to use a function which is named as fn1. I am using a variable called a, which is being given the value as 11 here. We could identify that a is again being used in our base class also. So we have two variables, a which is there in our base class and one more a which is there in our derived class. Using this value, I am just going to print it in my output screen. So I am just going to print the values of the base class a as well as the a of my derived class in my output screen. So this is the program. I have a separate class for containing my main function. So main function goes on like public static void main string args. The first line inside my main function is to create an object for the derived class. So the derived class name is second. So I am creating an object for second. Using this object, I would be able to use the properties of the base class as well as the derived class. So in that case, I am using that os1 object dot fn1 is the function name. This is the function which is being used in the derived class, and this function we are going to have a value for given for a. A is a variable we know, we have used it in our derived class as well as in our base class. So when I put it as a is equal to 11, this a denotes the derived class variable. When I put it as super.a, this a denotes the base class variable a. So both are having different memory locations. So you would be able to use your base class a variable by using a super.a keyword. So I am assigning value for both and I am printing it in my output screen. So this is my first example where you use super keyword along with a variable. So this is a second example where I am using the super keyword in order to call the constructor in my base class. So here I am going to have inheritance. To make the program very simple, I have just a single inheritance here. I have a base class. Base class is going to have a constructor. So whenever I say it as a constructor, my class name and the function name should be the same. I don't have any return type. So this is what is my constructor first. So this is going to have some assumptions being done for a and b. Followed by I have a second class which is nothing but your derived class, which derives the properties of my base class first. Inside this I have once again a constructor. The constructor name and my class name should be same. So I am having the class name and the constructor name as second. So I don't have any return type for my constructor. Inside the constructor, the first line, if you could see, it is going to have a super keyword. This super keyword is used for calling the base class constructor. The super keyword which is present here, which is present with super brackets open brackets close, this is the syntax. So using this, you would be able to call the base class constructor. So this should be used immediately after you define your constructor in your derived class. Then followed by, I am just adding two numbers. I could get the values of A and B from my base class constructor. So with that, I will add the value and print it in my output. There's a separate class that is being given for the main function. So inside the main function, you could find only a object creation which is done for my derived class. Since I am using constructors in both the cases, just an object creation will be able to call the constructor in my derived class. The object that I have created is for the derived class. So it is going to call the constructor in my derived class. So this derived class is going to indirectly call my base class by using this super keyword. The base class constructor will have an assumption given for A is equal to 100, B is equal to 500. So with this value, it is going to continue the addition process and it is going to print it. So this is a simple example where I have used super keyword to call the base class constructor. This is the last example where this example you can take up as method overriding also. So I will tell you what is method overriding. We are going to have an inheritance. So this inheritance has a base class as well as a derived class. In your base class and in your derived class, you have functions with same name. You tell that as method overriding. So whenever your base class and your derived class have functions with same name, we tell that as method overriding. So how do we differentiate between the method, calling the method of our base class and the derived class? So that is why we are going to use a super keyword here. So as I said, we are going to have a base class and a derived class. Base class, I am naming it as first, and it has a function fn1 and it is assuming certain values. Similarly, I have the second class, which is my derived class, which extends the property of first. Inside I have one more function. Make a note, your function that is present in your base class and the name given to my derived class functions are the same. I have the same named function in both the places. Followed by, I have certain things to be done inside my function. The first line says it is going to call super.fn1. Okay, this is a function call where I am trying to call my fn1 function which is present in my base class. So the base class fn1 can be called by using the keyword super.fn1. Brackets open, brackets close and a semicolon. This is as usual. Then we add it and we print it. I am having a separate class for my main function. So in this main function, I am creating an object for the derived class. As usual, when we do for an inheritance, we create an object for derived class. I am creating an object for derived class. Using that object, I am calling my function. Since this is an object of derived class, the function is going to be called for the derived class function. Even though I have fn1 in both the places, the function is going to be called in my derived class. So the function is called, immediately I have a super keyword which will be calling my base class function fn1, and I will assume the values for A and B, add it up in my derived class function and print my output. So we have seen how to use your super keyword when you are going to have same named function in your base class as well as derived class. So these are the ways you can use your super keyword in Java. Thank you.